All right, good morning, Liberty North AP and Dual Credit Psychology. This is the lesson for Thursday, April 1st, which I know traditionally is senior skip day, but I haven't heard anything either way, but I'm at a golf tournament. So this is going to be for the A-Day group. And this is the lesson that we did on Wednesday with the B-Day classes. So we're going to finish the learning targets for Unit 10, Personality. And then I'm going to give you your personality test number 9. And then also yesterday, I secretly gave you a birth order personality test as well. And so we'll see how the results of that kind of pan out. Okay. So if you want to get out your personality test lab, okay. And we're going to take personality test number 9. Okay, which will be right here. So this is the iZinc trait test. All right, so we actually are going to start our trait tests today. So the remaining personality quizzes that we take will be trait tests. So when we answer our questions at the end, they are always going to be testing source traits, and then they're always going to be objective. Okay. All right, so for this one, number 1 to 15, and all you're going to have to do is answer true or false, and then we'll go over the results together and answer the questions together. All right, number 1. My room is currently clean at home. Again, just true or false. Number 2, when I drive, I exceed the speed limit. True or false. Number 3, I study regularly. True or false. Number 4, I have taken advantage of friends and family in the past. True or false? Number 5, in uncomfortable situations, I frequently ask questions or speak up. Number 6, when working in a group, I always contribute. Number 7 is I do not get nervous before important events. Number 8, I am comfortable with myself and my surroundings. Number 9, if given the opportunity, I would change something about myself. Number 10, I set unrealistic or unattainable goals. Number 11, I prefer sticking to a routine or routines, plural. Number 12, I prefer to work by myself. Number 13, I enjoy meeting new people. Number 14, I would rather spend time at home with my friends than out with my friends. And number 15, PDA, public displays of affection, do not bother me. Okay. All right. So if you need to go back and pause the video or go back and look at any question, you can. So what we're going to do is for each question, you're going to be given a point value of +1 or -1. And I'll go down and tell you which one of those you need to apply, and then you're going to add that up. So you're going to have to add positive and negative numbers here, but it's just 1. Okay. And then you're going to get a total, and then your total will fit on a scale. Okay. So number 1, true is +1, false, -1. Number 2, true is -1, false is +1. 3, true is +1, false -1. Number 4, true -1, false +1. Number 5, true is -1, false +1. Number 6, true +1, false -1. Number 7, true +1, false -1. Number 8, true +1, false -1. Number 9, true -1, false +1. Number 10, true is +1, false -1. 11, true is -1, false +1. Number 12, true is +1, false -1. 13, true is +1, false -1. 14, true is +1, false -1. And 15 is true is -1, false is +1. Okay, so you can hit pause on the video if you want to add those up real quick. All right, and you should get a number between -15 and 15. All right, and here's the scale. If you were -3 to 3, that's going to be considered balanced. So your unstable part of your personality and your normal stable side is balanced. Okay. If you got -4 to -9, you are unstable. If you got -10 to -15, you're very unstable. 4 to 9 is stable, and 10 to 15 is extremely stable. Now, again, the test is measuring, if you remember Eysenck and Eysenck's personality test yesterday, or theory, there's only 2 source traits. Everybody's a degree of stable and everybody's a degree of extroversion, okay? So this is just measuring the stable versus unstable continuum of your personality. Now, again, everybody has unstable aspects to their personality. So again, if you study psychology, if you have the self-efficacy development, you know that's true. So Eysenck, according to his test, I think you're going to want to normally be in the -3 to +3, which means that you're balanced. You don't want to be too stable or too unstable, because both could create issues, kind of like the id and the superego with psychoanalysis. So you don't want to be too stable, because if you're too stable, then again, you become too perfectionistic, uncaring, kind of dictator, like a dictatorial, you know, that type of thing. Okay, tyrant. Become kind of a tyrant, right? Okay. All right. So let's go over our notes, and then go ahead and have out your the humanistic ranking test that we took yesterday, because we're going to refer to that here in a minute. That's kind of the birth order test that I gave you in secret yesterday. So we'll see if that worked. Okay. All right. So up here we have our last theory, which is social cognitive theory, which we've already covered. It was founded by Albert Bandura, again, is the psychologist very famous for the Bobo doll experiment. All right, and social cognitive basically now kind of is more referred to as behavioral cognitive perspective. So what he did is he merged the behavioristic perspective and the cognitive perspective together to create kind of its own new perspective or theory on behavior and personality, which is social cognitive. I think today it's more referred to as behavioral cognitive theory. Now, especially if you're an AP test taker, and one of your vocab words, which is a very historic and iconic term in psychology, which is reciprocal determinism, okay, which is Bandura's term for the summary or the definition of the social cognitive theory. And that is, it's a combination of your environment, behavioral, internal factors, and your behavior, okay? And on page 588, and this whole section is 587 to 592, on page 588, you had the very famous reciprocal determinism diagram, which is usually a triangle with cognitive factors, environmental factors, and behavioral factors of the person all reciprocating on each other. So they all have a reciprocal relationship, impact, and influence each other. So it can go, you know, this way or this way. Okay. Now, a great example of this theory is birth order psychology, which is a part of personality psychology. So what we did yesterday actually is we took a humanistic test, and then what I did is I combined it with birth order. So what I did is I gave you traits from kind of 3 of the main birth orders, okay, which are firstborn, middleborn, and lastborn, okay? I did not do anything for only children. I think if you're an only child, you might want to look at firstborn maybe, because you might take on, you're probably more likely to take on some of these traits, or maybe you want to look at lastborn, okay? Now, if you're very fascinated with the subject, you can just Google birth order, and it's a whole kind of field of research and science out of personality psychology. There are people that just dedicate their lives to the research, the data collecting, the testing for this. So it's really pretty scientific, and it's really kind of become its own kind of branch of personality psychology. So here's what I did. So I kind of gave them to you in 5s yesterday. And I kind of got mixed up here with the order, but the first 2 groups are firstborn traits. So these would be firstborn positive, firstborn negative traits. And then middleborn would be like if you have a child above you and below you. So if you're the second child of 3, the second and third child of 4, here's the positive, list 1 middle traits, and negative, list 2 middle traits, okay? And then if you're a last born or possibly an only child, you've got here's your list 1 traits, and here are your list 2 traits, okay? So what you want to see then is how many of these traits did you actually put in that 6 through 10 category, okay? So remember the first 5 on list 1 were actualizing traits. The first 5 here were your non-actualizing traits, but the core of your personality was supposed to be that 6 and 10, okay? So that's where you want to make sure and see if these are on your 6 through 10, because if they are and you fit with the profile, then it's worked, okay, the way it is. Now, birth order psychology is not absolute because it has that environmental component and it has the cognitive component, the internal component, all right? So, but it is pretty accurate, I'd say, specifically with last born, firstborn, and only children. And it gets pretty scientific because you can actually type in, what exactly number you are in the family. Like I'm 4 of 6, I'm 3 of 5, or I'm 3 of 6. And also, they include step siblings, half brothers and sisters, adoption. I mean, they've kind of, it's really kind of become kind of its own little subject, if you will. There's so much variation and variables that are used in the research, but I thought this would be fascinating just to see if you align with the birth order that you are, which I think most of today I think students have been pretty surprised about how accurate it actually can be and actually is. All right. So then there's also a lot of work with the firstborn children and just that firstborn spot in the family. A lot of scientists believe that all families need a firstborn. So even if it's not the actual firstborn, but they need a child to come up and take that firstborn spot. And it offers stability and health to families. Whereas if they don't have anybody who has that firstborn, it can kind of create chaos and instability in the family. So, there's just, so there might be, if you had several siblings and you're the firstborn and you don't have those traits, there's probably somebody who does have it and you guys might have switched. So again, it's just, if you're really interested in that, just kind of research that. Make sure you kind of pay attention to what sites you go to. Okay. All right. AP learning target number 4, how does culture facilitate or increase traits, and how does it constrain or decrease personality traits? So basically we know, and we've talked about, society and culture kind of promotes the traits that it values the most. Again, and we're all kind of like living in a Skinner box. So we go back to learning and behaviorism. We are rewarded for certain traits. We're punished for other traits. And not as significantly as in other cultures or countries, but in America, we still have that element to society and culture. I think a great example that I've used today is extroversion and introversion. So again, I'm pretty sure, and I have some students fact checking me on this, which is good, that I think in the 80s and 90s, 90% of America was extroverts and 10% were introverts. Now in 2021, we've completely flipped that to where I think it's 70% introvert and 30% extrovert. And again, those are rough estimates, but again, our culture is valuing introversion. It's accommodating and making it more beneficial to be an introvert. So you can do more things at home on your own. You don't have to get out. When you get out, you don't necessarily have to see people. And some of that is from COVID, but some of that will last. So overall, just in America, we're kind of promoting introversion a little bit more than extroversion now. As a result, you're seeing a switch there. Okay. So, culture and society can definitely emphasize certain traits that then are more likely to be accepted and promoted and demonstrated, okay, by the people. All right. And then AP learning target number 5. All right. This is on page 593. You have a great table, summary page, which actually summarizes all the personality theories that we've talked about, and then also answers number 5, which we have also answered in unit 2. Okay, so evaluate assessment strategies and personality. So these are basically the research methods that we discussed in unit 2 in psychology. And they have the same strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so, but we've talked about the big 2 ways that we like to gather information are by case studies, which are very hard to do. It's very hard to kind of keep gathering data from somebody for an extended period of time, but we get a lot of great data from that. And then we like to give surveys or questionnaires, which are very quick. And we can gather a lot of data, but sometimes they're not very valid. Like the Eisnick test that I gave you today, I think is 75 questions. I only gave you 15. So, it's kind of, that hurts the validity quite a bit and the reliability of that scale. So kind of the same things we talked about: correlations, observation, experiment, tests, they all have strengths and weaknesses. But the biggest thing in psychology is that, again, we're scientifically studying people, especially in personality. So, we've got to be careful. So there's always constraints and limitations when we're using people to gather information and data. Okay. All right. So we are finished with all the AP learning targets. Again, there was only 5 for personality. So we finished them all. And then Monday, again, we'll have everybody together for the first time on April 5th. So we're just going to have that be a get to know me day. And then we'll start kind of moving on, finishing up Unit 10 and moving on to social psychology, which, again, we still have 3 personality tests to take. And we'll just go ahead and start class with those, even though we're in a different unit. Okay, don't forget to give me your define and applies. Your define and apply for Unit 10 as well. Journal critiques should have been due Wednesday, so make sure that those are in. And then just spend the rest of class working on stuff. Get your define and applies done, or get your AP notebook done, because don't forget, May 4th, all of your AP notebook is due for about 400 points. I think the thing's going to be a little over 400 points now that we're adding your personality test to it. And we've added something else to it. I can't remember exactly what it is. Okay, but it'll be pretty big. So make sure you're getting caught up on that. All right. If you have any questions, email me. Have a great Thursday. Welcome to April. Happy April Fool's Day, and we'll see you later. I totally forgot what that was called. I should.